AJ, Jesus, I hear what you're saying, that we have to ask for God's love to flow in. And yet in the prayer it says, I pray you will open up my soul to the inflowing of your love. Can you talk about that, please?
Yes, remember that everything that we transmitted to Paget isn't perfectly true. It was all based around his own emotional feelings and experiences as well. So every channeling that we gave to James Paget was limited in its ability for James to understand, depending on his own emotional condition. Now, he wanted to feel like God was going to force him into doing something. And he was always, from his childhood, he grew up in a Christian faith. He had this belief system about will, about having to give up your will for God, right? And this belief system did have an impact on the channelings we gave to him. The reality is, divine love, as we said in the Paget messages to him in another message, you can read a message from myself in the Paget messages where I state categorically that divine love does not open up the soul to receive divine love. I said that prayer opens up the soul to receive divine love. So there is a direct contradiction between that, my message in the Paget messages, and the prayer itself. So we must understand that. However, God does have operations that surround us, not referring to the reception of divine love, but rather operations that God influences other people, other beings, other spirits and other people around us to open up our soul, to cause the opening of our soul. And in other words, God tries to influence, through the influence of other people that are already connected to God, to give us help to decide to open up our soul. Does that make sense?
Yeah, even the operation of God's laws, I feel, are there to help open us up to God's love. So when I pray that part of the prayer, it's about, me being sensitive to everything that's in play to open me up, that God's already put there to open me up to the love, yeah.
And so God has placed her laws there to open up the soul. God has placed all of these spirit people who are now one with God to help you open up your soul and to give you truth, to help you open up your soul. God also has provided laws like the law of cause and effect, the law of attraction, and these other laws to cause the opening of your soul. So when you pray for God to open up your soul, you're actually praying to be sensitive to all of these things that are going to cause your soul to open. Does that make sense? But the reality is, divine love itself will not force itself upon your soul. Right? You have to make the choice to receive it. Prayer is your choice to receive it. Your choice to open up to receive. Now, this is the operation upon your soul that you must understand from a scientific perspective. Without prayer, your soul will not open. Therefore, it cannot receive. Without prayer towards God, your soul will not open to God and therefore cannot receive anything from God. Without prayer towards your other half, which remember is a feeling of love coming from you towards, and a desire coming from you to receive and to give love to the other half of your soul, without that prayer coming out of your soul, exercised towards your other half, you will not receive love from the other half. You can't give it without being opening to the reception. Many of you believe you can give love without receiving any, or receive some without having to give any. And love doesn't work like that.
It's an important thing you're saying about longing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That longing is not just the desire for love, but the desire to give love. Yeah.
It's not just the desire to receive, it's the desire to give too. A longing for the relationship. You see, if I long for a relationship with God, then that opens my heart to the relationship. If I long for a relationship with my other half, this opens my heart to the relationship. Right? And remember I said these are the two biggest relationships that are going to affect the rest of your infinite development. And in fact, without these relationships, no infinite development is possible. None. You get to a limited state of the sixth dimension, and that is it.
This is also why a lot of spirits in the sixth dimension are not with their soulmate, because they haven't developed this quality of longing. And this is why also developing your relationship with God has so many benefits in helping you develop your relationship with your soulmate, because not only are you in that relationship with God dealing with the injuries that you have inside of you that block your proper perception of your soulmate or recognition of your soulmate, but you're also developing this quality of longing, aren't you, which is so vital to that relationship. Yeah.
So let's say your soulmate comes along and does some things that you feel hurt by, right? If you still desire an openness to love, you will stay open to the hurt, right? You will stay open to the potential of this hurt. Now, with the relationship with God, we don't have to do that because God's never going to hurt us, right? So it's great when you're developing your relationship with God, when you're not receiving love in your relationship with God, you know it's not because God doesn't want to give it, it's because you're blocked to the reception. The beauty of that is that even if you feel hurt by that, you know it's your own hurt. It's not God feeling bad about you. Right? So, if you think about the prayer and the effect that prayer has on your soul, I might just flip that over now because I want to leave that on the board. If you think about prayer and the effect prayer has on your soul, basically what we're stating is that you've got this beautiful relationship with the Creator, and here's your half of the soul. Let's say if you're a male or female, it doesn't matter. You've developed a longing to receive and give love with God, which is your method of communication and the method by which you're going to establish a relationship with God. Agreed so far? We're right with that. So we have this, I'll just put God up here so we know who's speaking of, and this is me. So we have this flow of love that begins, and it will be dependent upon how much I'm willing to stay open to both the giving and the receiving of the love. God is perfect in giving and receiving love. I before except after C. God is a perfect giver and receiver. So if there is a blockage in the flow of this love between yourself and God, it can only be on your end. That's the only place it can be. Something in you that blocks its flow. Now, remember we talked about fear and the influence of fear. So if there's an influence of fear upon the soul, which comes with the accompanied influences of error, a lack of will, a lack of faith, a lack of truth, then of course that's going to have an effect of shutting down this feeling of love that flowing between yourself and God somehow on your end, because God does not have any of these things. God doesn't have a lack of will or a lack of faith or a lack of truth.